John is with us now from Washington. John, Governor Christie says Trump was, quote unquote, candid in his immigration speech Wednesday. Where are we at the end of this week on immigration?
It's a good question. People are putting the marker down in different spots. He was candid. Governor Christie was talking about Donald Trump's remarks about the wall because he had not really discussed who was going to pay for it in his meeting with the Mexican president. According to the Wall Street Journal, when the Mexican president said he told Trump that he wasn't going to pay for the wall and that Mexico wasn't going to pay for the wall, then Trump felt compelled to mention it in that speech. I thought the most striking thing about what Governor Christie said is that finally getting some clarity on what Donald Trump is going to do about the 11 million undocumented workers in America. This is perhaps, and has been over the course of immigration debates in the Republican Party over the last several years, the most important question. You hear the word amnesty a lot. That relates to those undocumented immigrants already in the United States. Governor Christie said that after dealing with the criminals, that Donald Trump will take a pause, and that his change from his position where he said originally he was going to deport those 11 million so fast it would make your head spin, that no longer is his position. He's going to kind of just figure it all out after it's over. The reason that's significant, in addition to the fact that it's a change in his core immigration position, which is at the centerpiece of his candidacy, is also that kind of softening, those kinds of signals about maybe doing something, but not necessarily definitely doing something about the undocumented immigrants in the United States. That usually has been a signal to conservatives that the politician is getting ready to waffle and getting ready not to keep their promise. So we'll see what the reaction is to that.
John, on another issue, Governor Mike Pence says he'll release his tax returns this week. There's still no timeline, though, for Donald Trump. Does that put additional pressure on Trump to release his returns?
It might. I don't know if it brings pressure. I think it brings it back into the news cycle. And then the question is, voters don't seem to have been exercised about it so much so far. But with additional focus on the connections between Donald Trump and his enterprises, the many of them, and also new stories about donations he made to the Florida Attorney General while she was considering investigating Trump University, that may just kind of bring that conversation up a little bit more. And while Donald Trump is trying to send other messages, that can be distracting.
Turning to Hillary Clinton, we've been talking a lot about these notes from the FBI's interview with her. What struck you the most, John, about what we learned there?
Well, what struck me is that the interviews have been used basically by both sides to, defend the previous positions. And my point there is that I don't think there's anything. We definitely saw some details that we didn't know before, and there's sort of food for both sides, which means that this is going to be yet another thing that is adjudicated by partisans on both sides. That's not good for Hillary Clinton, because every time this is in the conversation, it reanimates people's fear about her candidacy and her questions about her character. It doesn't matter whether the conversation's being fought to a draw or whether new facts exonerate her, or even whether new facts, I suppose if new facts showed a special new level of guilt, which they don't appear to, that would be bad. But anytime this is in the conversation and anytime there's a dispute, that's not good, because it keeps the focus on this weakest part of her candidacy.
Well, John, some people have been asking, where is Hillary Clinton? She relied on surrogates to slam Trump for his immigration speech and seems to be spending less time at public events. What do you make of that?
She's been at fundraising events, raising a great deal of money. And the calculation the campaign has made is that spend August raising a lot of money that they'll need to define Donald Trump and fight in those battleground states on the air, but also to fund the ground game. If voters are not going to be super enthusiastic about Hillary Clinton, as we see that there is a lack of enthusiasm, a lot of them are voting because they're scared of Donald Trump, you're going to need more money for the ground game. You're going to need more money to make sure everybody who's a registered Democrat turns out, or as many as you can. So that requires a lot of money. She spent time getting that. She's working on debate prep, which happens behind the scenes. So it's also something that can be fixed rather easily by an energetic sprint to the finish. So it's not really, it's certainly been talked about, but in terms of permanently affecting her campaign, it actually could set the expectation so that if she comes out and gives a kind of a whirlwind finish, it might even, you can imagine it working to her advantage, even though at the moment what works absolutely against her is this idea that she's not, is the fact she doesn't do press conferences of the kind we're familiar with. That goes to that central question about trust, and that's not good for her at all.
Yeah, she's certainly been criticized for that. All right, John Dickerson in Washington. John, thank you.
Thanks, Elaine.